When should students start thinking about their applications and putting that side of things together?
A couple of things. I mean, I don't want to be alarmist, but you should be thinking about your application, especially if you're thinking about going to law school, as early as you possibly can. And what I mean by that is not just actually putting pen to paper for the purpose of drafting a personal statement, but I mean, you're designing your story as we speak. If you're a junior, if you're a sophomore, your story today is actually going to be the story you're going to write about in 2 years. It's almost like a Twilight Zone situation. So if something happens to you tomorrow or the day after or 6 months from now, those are things you want to write down and keep it written down in some kind of journal of sorts, so that when you actually sit down and start writing your application, you can kind of reach over and start pulling out experiences and examples that you can actually feed into what your personal statement will start to look like. So that's on the one hand. But if you were to say, when should I actually start? Obviously, depending on, so let's take a hypothetical individual who is now a rising senior. I mean, you want to start thinking about your personal statements and your application, the schools you're thinking about applying to and so forth, as early as the summer before your senior year. And that's probably the earliest. And then you really want to start putting pen to paper, and the way you want to start thinking about it is the brainstorming kind of thinking of just throwing a bunch of ideas on a piece of paper, seeing how they kind of incongruently fit, how it goes into a personal statement format, which we can talk more about. And you want to basically have a draft ready to rock and roll, I would say, by September, so that you can start sharing that with your recommenders as soon as possible, so that they have a better idea of not just who you are, but why you actually want to go to law school. And then basically finalize that personal statement sometime in the end of October, beginning of November, and start firing them off to the schools. If there is a hard imaginary deadline, I would say that would be Thanksgiving, because after Thanksgiving, there's a deluge of applications coming through, so that if you do not have your application submitted by Thanksgiving or the latest by the first or second week of December, you're really going to be thrown behind the pile, because people are going to go on vacation. And in the end of the day, your application is not going to be processed effectively until well into January, which by then, as you had mentioned earlier, you're losing scholarship money, but more importantly, a lot of the seats in the top law schools are already being taken.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.